Hello lovely people, Fiona McWilliam here, life coach and therapist based in Belgium, Europe. I have a question for you. Do you suffer from resistance? Resistance to doing the things you want to do and pursuing your goals? For example, you started a new exercise regime, or you're putting in extra hours for your side hustle or hobby, and it's going really well. For the first week, you get things done. For the first month, it's still working. And then before you know it, over the long haul, you hit resistance sooner or later. Resistance was a phrase coined by Julia Cameron in her book called The Artist's Way. It's kind of a paradoxical thing, because resistance is the feeling that you don't want to do the things that you want to do. For a few days it's going great, and then bam, you hit that internal resistance wall and you just don't want to do it today. It feels like there's something in front of you, or there's something inside of you that just gives you this big no. Your willpower isn't enough and it's not going to get you through. There can be different reasons for this. First of all, it might be a question of motivation. Say you decided you wanted to start painting. Maybe it's something you've done before, or it could be something that you're taking up for the first time. You get into it, you work on a piece for a week, and then you look at the results and you decide, hey, no, this isn't good enough. It's not what I was hoping to achieve. Or you get up one morning and you say, okay, yeah, no, this isn't what I want to be doing with my life. I may as well quit. I'm a failure. You know, these thoughts come to us, and I'm quite sure we can all relate to this situation. What are we going to do? Well, first of all, let's look at the emotional element here. If this was me, I'm feeling that I'm despondent, I'm frustrated, and I'm discouraged. And these are my feelings, and I'm feeling them, and that's okay. It's good to feel your feelings, even if they're not too pleasant at one moment or another. Now let's look at the thought side of things. You might have noticed that I used the word failure. Failure is final, and I said I am a failure. That means that I'm identifying that word with my core being. And that's not really true, is it? You know, I can ask myself, did I get out of bed this morning? Yes, I did. Did I eat breakfast? Yes, I did. Did I have a shower? Yes, I did. Did I get on with my chores before I started on my other things for the day? Yes, I did. All right. From that definition, I'm not a failure. Failure is final. It's the end of the road, but we can reframe that word as we had a setback. Things didn't go the way we planned. Maybe you planned after a week to have a finished piece of art, going back to the painting idea, and you find you're only halfway. That happens, okay. If something's new, you might not manage to estimate how much time a task is going to take realistically. So you've had this setback, but did you learn something in that process? Yes, you learned how long something actually takes you to do, or maybe you learned that you don't like a certain color combination, or anything else about the process. It's best to look at it as a journey, and this counts for all things, not just art, creativity, but also our work, our side hustles, physical exercise as well. It's okay not to be happy with our creations when we're working on creative work. It's best to see it as a journey and not to focus too hard on the end result. It's also possible when you hit resistance that you are suffering from perfectionism. Maybe you're thinking, hey, the results, what I'm doing, it's just not good enough. In this situation, it might help to check with someone else what they think about what you've produced. We're always taught in school not to accept our creativity, not to accept the first things that come into our heads, but to try to look for the answer that's the right choice, that's the answer that everybody else would give. But this is actually death to creativity. Often some of our most interesting and creative work comes from the first thing that comes into our conscious mind. It's just that we've all been taught to distrust this and try to come up with that same answer that, you know, it's the generic answer, it's what everybody's going to say. And then what do you get? You get something the same as what everybody else is going to produce. Is that creative? This is a theme explored by Keith Johnston in his book Improvisation in the Theatre, which I definitely recommend reading. It's got a whole chapter on creativity, blocks to creativity, and practical exercises that you can do in the comfort of your own home to unlock your creative mind, to stop the blocking part of yourself. Going back to the idea of exercise, perhaps you started an exercise regime and your aim is that you want to ace 30 push-ups, and you try and, like me, you go, whoa, I can do 4, I'm never gonna get there. This is just too hard. This is no reason to quit. You can modify what you're doing in your exercise and start off with some slightly lower impact form of that exercise, but the important thing is to accept that your starting level is your starting level. This is especially important if you've experienced some kind of sports injury. I know I have, and coming back from that is a long road. You just got to accept, okay, this is where I started. Don't get frustrated. All you want to do is do your starting level for long enough, and eventually your fitness level will increase. You may never get back to what you could do 20 years ago, but you're certainly going to improve your health and fitness level just by persevering. Just go from where you are. When you're trying to beat reluctance and pushback in your mind, it might feel like what you're trying to do is too hard, or you might find yourself thinking, is it worth it? These are completely relevant thoughts. They're a relevant question. Maybe you try something new and you find that it's actually not for you. You thought you wanted to do it, but it turns out maybe you'd be better off doing something else. You'd prefer to do something else. That's absolutely fine. Just make sure that you try things out before you go and invest a lot of money and equipment to do them. One way to clear our minds, to free us up to do what we want to do, is to clear out all the jumble of our conscious minds in the morning. We tend to get up and we've got a lot of stuff flying around our heads. Maybe you're still hooked a bit into the dreams you were having from the night before. Maybe you've got worries coming at you from your outside life. One way you can still the mind is by using freestyle journaling. So get a pen, get a piece of paper in the morning with your breakfast, and just write, just dump mentally all of your thoughts and feelings onto the page, so that they're there and they're out, and you go, okay, if there's anything important there, I can check back later, but it's not going to be nagging me at the back of my mind and distracting me from getting on with my plans. Another thing which is really important to persevere in any undertaking is to make habits and routines your friend. For example, I might say, all right, my plan is at 11 a.m. every day, I'm going to take a 15-minute break and I'm going to do 15 minutes of cardio exercise wherever I am. It might be in my office, it might be in the park, it might be in my house, instead of drinking a coffee and eating a waffle to keep my energy levels up. Healthy choice. It might be that I'm going to sit down at 7 p.m. every weekday evening and I'm going to write for 1 hour in the place that I have prepared to do my work. Or it might be I'm going to set my alarm 10 minutes earlier in the morning and I'm going to get up, whatever, take those 10 minutes to sit down and meditate before I get on with my day. The important thing here is to have a plan. The plan is everything. You don't have to set aside hours and hours a day to introduce something new into your life. In fact, it's better to start things small and just make a habit of doing them. Shorter sessions can be much better than trying to put a huge amount of time into something new. That's going to be harder. Using short sessions, you can reprogram your mind. Your brain is plastic. That means that it can grow and change your whole life. And by introducing new routines and habits into your life, you will create new neural pathways where the cells in your brain fire together and make a habitual flow of that activity. It's a bit like walking through a forest. If you walk through a forest every day on the same path, you are going to wear a path in the forest. And by maintaining those habits and those routines, your path is going to become well worn. And then it's easier to keep doing them. That well-worn path, your feet just follow it. They almost know where they're going. And the same is true for anything that you practice and forming new habits in your brain. I want to point out, of course, that stuff happens in our life and it gets in the way of being able to do things sometimes, and that's fine. Maybe you get sick, or the kids get sick, or your meeting runs over an hour at work. Okay, this happens. There's nothing we can do about it. In this situation, you just have to accept that you're not going to have time on that day. Or perhaps you find that you're in pain. And if you are, it's very important to listen to your body. If you're experiencing pain and you feel the need to rest, then do so. Your body will heal itself if you rest. Don't try to push back against that. Sometimes it's enough if something is wrong with you to be able to get off the sofa and make a cup of tea. You're not a failure. You did something. Or if you can manage the washing up, even better. You're a hero. I get it. But please do listen to your body. If it's telling you no, listen. Resistance can also manifest as self-sabotaging behavior. Perhaps you've got a plan that you're going to get up and go for a run in the morning, but then you stay up late the night before playing computer games, video games till like 2 a.m. Or perhaps you go out with friends and you stay a bit too long. You go, yeah, I'll just have that one extra glass of wine, that one extra beer. You get up in the morning and you feel terrible. In that moment, you chose your short-term gratification over your aims. And I understand this. This can be hard. The brain wants to grab the berries that are there today more easily than thinking about planting the seeds that are going to grow the vegetables for 3 months from now. That's kind of how we're built. However, this can also be self-sabotaging behavior when you do something which means that you're not going to achieve your goals. It can be caused by an underlying fear of failure. And it's worth asking yourself in a quiet moment if this is what's motivating your behavior, rather than just that short-term gratification urge. Self-sabotaging behavior can also show up as procrastination. You could just be prone to procrastination as well. I know I am. In me, it shows up as thinking that there are 20 things that I have to do before I actually sit down and get on with the job that I need to do. Usually with me, it's cleaning the house. Okay, what do we do in this situation? I would suggest writing a list of all the things that you think that you need to do first, and then saying to the list, okay, we're going to do you, but we're going to do you after the thing which is actually my priority. You put the list aside and then you go and do the thing first, which is your priority. The other tasks and chores are still going to be there when you come back to them, waiting for you. Just try to focus on your priority. So if you're suffering from resistance, here are some things that you can do. Number 1, set your intention for the day before you get out of your bed in the morning or over your breakfast. Be clear with yourself that this is your priority. Number 2, as I've already talked about, keep up the regular habit of practicing the skill you're working on. Number 3, write down all of the other things you think you need to do first and put that aside. Already said that one. Number 4, get rid of distractions. Put your telephone on silent. Go to a quiet place where you're not going to be disturbed to get on with what you want to do. Number 5, don't wait to be in the right mood or for the right time to do something, because this is not going to happen. Studies show that motivation is something that comes from completing tasks, not before we do the task itself. This could be something like, I'm gonna clean the floor. And how you get motivated is by rewarding yourself, by consciously enjoying and savouring the thing that you have achieved. So it could be, I've cleaned my floor and I'm going to just take a moment to really enjoy being in the room with my nice clean floor. You can reward yourself by working on something and being fully present in the process, in the journey of what you are doing. And you will then be motivated to do more of the same thing in the future. That's it for today. I hope that you found some ideas in this video helpful, all of you out there. Thanks for joining me. Goodbye.